Let's check a look.
Welcome on in, everybody. Oh, I'm so surprised. I thought you guys were going to be talking over the transition.
I mean, we were talking.
That's
and we,
usually what happens, and like I got timed
you came
it
in
perfectly.
right at the lull.
Yeah.
Well, welcome on in, everybody. My name is PlatinumTrophyWife. This is the 14th episode of Valhalla's Most Wanted podcast. So congratulations to us. We are almost a teenager. Well, I guess we are a teenager, but like a real teenager at 16.
If we did this once a day, this would be our Fortnite episode.
Oh, there you go. So should we talk about Fortnite the whole time?
I've never played it.
Neither
actually.
All right, then.
All right, that was our discussion about Fortnite.
that
We'll
actually
see y'all later.
surprises me.
But anyway, I am your host, PlatinumTrophyWife. You can just call me Plat or Platinum. And with me, as always, I have my co-host.
Hey, I'm the co-host, Grey Wolves Gaming. How's it going, everyone? Glad to see you. Welcome to our very short Fortnite episode. And we're done. Have a good one. Thanks for joining us. But joining us once again, we have our boy Taddy, which I think is...
Hello.
Diagonal, yeah. There he is. Taddy, tell us a little bit about yourself. So, if you were in the Game of Thrones world, what family would you want to be a part of?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a good question.
What games do you like to play? What's your favorite
because
color?
there's certain characters from every house that you relate to and get along with, so it's hard to just, nail down one house.
Yeah, no
It'd be
worries.
interesting if they had a house selector like they do for I'm sure they probably do, but for like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You take a quiz and it's like, oh, you belong to this Game of Thrones house.
Yeah, they're
I
definitely...
mean, we can do our own version of that. Have you slept with your sister or killed your father?
Negative.
Okay, so
Not
there's
a
that.
Lannister.
Yeah, Lannister's out of the question. I guess Targaryen would be out of the question too.
It's like, it's hard to have that kind of quiz. Some of those answers you do not want to answer.
Right. It's really funny. There's like this okay cute question.
Before we get too far, we have the other person to introduce.
No, I know. I'm still waiting on
Okay.
Patty's other answers here. So what kind of games do you like, and what's your favorite color?
Oh, my favorite color is green, which is kind of tough with the the green screen.
I
So
was gonna say.
I don't really wear it a lot. But for games, I play a lot of RPG games or first-person shooter games. Zelda's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then, I do shooters too. Halo. I used to be really, really big into SOCOM, which was like Call of Duty way back in the day when I was a kid. Not so much anymore, but... So, I mean, I'll pretty much play anything once, give it a try.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. We'll come back to you about the family question. And then with us, we have SkatteredFate.
Hello.
Welcome on in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And so go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. What games do you like? What's your favorite color? Where would you vacation in Westeros or Essos?
Well, I wanted to say I actually have taken a quiz on which house I am in Game of Thrones.
There you go.
It put me in House Mormon, but I want to be in House Stark. So
Mormon is good though. That's a good house.
It's a good house.
It's
I like
not one of
the
main
house
ones.
leader, so that's a good start. I'm a variety streamer, so I kind of just play a whole bunch of different games like Animal Crossing and Fallout and Kingdom Hearts, and I'm just all over the place. I like a whole bunch of games, BioShock, Portal, just anything with a really good story or a simulator game where I can just kind of zone out and do whatever I want type thing.
Yeah. We were talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 beforehand. Oh wait, where would you vacation? In Westeros or Essos?
In Westeros?
In the world of Game of Thrones.
Probably wherever I can't remember any of the place names now, but it's a really short name where they locked away her dragons from her.
Oh yeah. It's
wherever that
in
place
Essos
is.
with that tower
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
okay,
the place
yeah.
with the tower.
Was that Marine?
Place. It might have been.
It was before.
Yeah,
It
somewhere nice
was
and warm.
it starts with a Q, and it's like the greatest city that
Karth.
ever was, or whatever. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Karth looked pretty cool to
It
vacation
did.
in.
It was gorgeous because it was like right on the beach or the bay or
Mhm.
whatever.
I mean,
And, like, it
essentially, you
had
want
all
to
the
be as
towns.
far away from the wall as you can, and as far away from slaves as you can. You want to find that nice balance.
That nice middle ground.
Yeah, and King's Landing is probably just like you don't want to be there for vacation because like you don't know what
Aw.
shit's gonna go down.
And if you're in the streets, it's disgusting. It's only nice in
It
the
is.
in
Yeah.
the kingdom.
That's how most cities were back in the day. Like,
Yeah. So that's a good one. I forgot about that. Like, you had really good answers. Because I've even totally forgot about Mormont. I was like, oh yeah, that's a great house to be a part of.
Yeah, small army, but we're gonna beat your ass in the ground.
And we have like the most amazing people, honestly. Like they have the best characters.
They do.
But yeah, so talking about Game of Thrones, it's today. How are we feeling? Are we excited? Have we waited too long? Is this Kingdom Hearts 2.0 where we've just waited way too long and now we don't care anymore?
I think you're
No,
the only one that doesn't care about Kingdom Hearts. Did we discuss that?
Yeah, I didn't care about Kingdom Hearts. I'm excited to play, but like...
Plat's using the royal we here. She just means I.
It's just me, apparently.
I'm actually okay with how long we had to wait for the final season of Game of Thrones because like of how long the episodes are going to be and like how like much production went into it. I'm really excited that it's going to be a well thought out final season.
No,
Hopefully.
I haven't watched it in several seasons. I watched
Okay.
it until they caught up to the books and then stopped. And
Okay.
not because of like not any elitist like books are better or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
I can very much appreciate different tellings of a similar story, whether a book or media. But in this situation, I want to know how the author intends the series to go in the books and end before I see how the TV show does their version.
Don't you
Like-
think he'll already be influenced, though?
He might be, but who knows?
Okay.
Like there's already enough differences even catching up that he can't be. He could have some influences, but
Mm-hmm.
I also thought he had an influence on like the writing for the show. I might be wrong though.
Yeah.
I mean, he to some extent, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
still like they own it. Like they bought the rights to make it. Like
Yeah.
he's a consultant, but they could ignore him all entirely if they want. Like,
Yeah, I think he consulted, but
yeah,
that's about
And
it.
he did write a couple of the episodes, or a few of the episodes. I think he usually writes like one episode per season, which is really cool. But, and I'm sure that he gave them the bullet point, like this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. But I feel like his story is so good because of what's written between the bullet points.
yeah.
And that's what this series is missing now that the books are done. You really notice, like, it's a lot more fast-tracked, which I know a lot of people are like, that's what I love about it now. It was too slow before.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but that was the best parts, was the talking and the debating and the backstabbing politics and stuff like that. So, I'm really hesitant about this last season. Like, I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited because I'm going to be celebrating it, I guess, with my family. Like, I'm literally going to my parents' house to watch it. We're going to have wildfire drinks. And,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, like they're it's Malibu rum with pineapple soda and like a little bit of like this like blue coloring so that way it turns green.
Oh.
And it's really good and tasty, and so it's like we're gonna have like this Game of Thrones feast and like watch it. But I don't know,
awesome.
I'm like I just hope it's good because like last season was disappointing.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, it's unpopular opinion.
Oh,
over here.
I guess I have the unpopular opinion. I liked the last season.
Yeah. It's a lot of people did like the last season because it was a lot of fan service, and I'll try not to get into too many details with Wolves, but it was like a lot of fan service, and so people were like, oh, I love it now, and I'm like, yeah, but it like this is so Hollywood blockbuster. This is not Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, we need to cry every episode. That's what Game of Thrones is.
I kind of
Well, I mean,
watched it as like it was like they kind of were trying to tie out all the loose ends up before
Yeah.
like they like a kind of like a setup for the final season.
Yeah.
Well, that's a change of mentality in the series as well as it goes on. Especially if in this situation, if it gets ahead of the original series, is you start out, you got to hook the original fan base, the book fan base, and get them in, and you do enough to add in more people. Then as time goes on, your fan base is so many more people than were the book fan base that you kind of diverge, or you do certain things to keep those people in, and certain people feel alienated or don't like it for whatever reason. So in this situation, it's a lot of fan service because their fans have grown so much beyond the original book people to now you just got to keep those people hooked, and you try to engage them more so than try to be to a source or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, you lose elements of the in between because when you have 1,000-page book, authors frequently they add all these little tidbits, all these little nuances in, and so what the shows will do is to fill little scene gaps or scene changes, they'll do touches and hints of those, and you can really feel it. But when you don't have all of those little things, it's just a bunch of people like, "What should we do?" Just roll over to the next scene. Like,
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. Like, oh man, I wish you're almost up to date so that way you could really talk about like because I haven't read the books, so I can't say exactly what's going on.
I've only read the first one.
Yeah, same. I've read the first one. I really like them, and I do want to finish them.
The books basically conclude when Jon Snow gets stabbed.
Right.
Like that's where the books leave off, and like the last two books take place almost overlap. Like they overlap like most of the time.
Yeah.
Like you have one book, like book 4 or whatever, follows all of these characters up to like this point, and then book 5 follows a different set of characters up to like this point, and then you get a little bit of new story after that.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I like, because I've heard threads of the storytelling in the books, like the different, story elements that I'm like, that sounds way better than what's going on in the show right now. Like, and so I'm like really excited to, like, once the show is done, to go and like read the books until, I don't know. Do you think he'll finish it before he dies?
Before he dies, who knows? I think his intention is to finish it, but even if he doesn't, I feel like odds are his estate will get another writer to finish it for him, much like the Wheel of Time did.
Yeah.
I wonder if like he has them all written right now, like ready to go, and but he's just waiting for the show to end.
No, the way this guy writes, no.
That's not his mentality as a writer.
Yeah.
What if they're just like paying him though, like, oh please just keep your books like
stop.
Until the show's over, please.
Right. Who would most benefit if the books came out before the show was over? I feel like the books would benefit more than the show.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I believe it because way early on, like season 2 or 3, my buddy was watching the show and he couldn't wait for the next season to come out.
Right.
So he went out and bought the books so he could go ahead and read on to see what was going to happen.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I mean, that's very common in anime as well. When a new like anime series comes out, like I don't do it, but I have a friend who does it all the time. Like he'll like a new anime, and then like 2 weeks later, he's like, "So I've caught up on the 1,000 manga." I'm like, "Holy shit, dude!"
You were talking about, well, I don't know if you want to say, but you were looking at getting audiobooks illegally.
Oh yeah.
And I would love to find a way to get manga illegally because there's just so much of it, and I do want to read it, but I'm like, so expensive.
There are sites out there. There are.
Show me your ways, because I don't know where they are. I need a link.
Teach me, senpai.
Teach me, senpai. I'm assuming he did that with My Hero Academia.
Yep.
Oh man, I was really close to doing that as well, but I still haven't finished the show.
Oh my god, it's so good. What's wrong with you?
Because it's so good, I don't want it to end.
In like a weekend, I watched the first 2 seasons, and as the third season was coming out, I was like, refresh, new episode. Like,
let's go. But yeah, so Deandra's excited. Wolves doesn't watch it. Toddy, how do you feel on Game of Thrones?
I'm very excited for it, and I agree with Scattered that I don't think we waited too long because the production value is going to be there just from previous seasons. They put a lot of time and effort and work into it and picking locations and characters and everything else like that.
Yeah. So this seems to be the new trend. The final season is cut in half, and then it's like marketed as 2 different seasons, but it's essentially one season that they cut in half, and that way they could do better budget because they get more money, you know, the longer they go on. Because Breaking Bad did this, and I could have sworn another show did this. I think Mad Men did it as well. So how do we feel about this like new trend? Because it kind of came up with, you know, Harry Potter final movie. They split into 2. Twilight did the same. It's like this new trend where like the final thing, they split into 2 to like make it last longer. Like, do we like this? Is this good? Does Game of Thrones... Because you guys were like, okay with Game of Thrones doing it. Are they doing something different, I guess?
I was okay that they did that for Harry Potter because I feel like with that book they couldn't cut much out, so they had to make it into 2. I'm a little biased though because I love Harry Potter, but I feel like every franchise after that kind of did that to make more money and to kind of like they seem to be stretching it out on purpose for that.
Right.
I don't know, Game of Thrones, I'm okay with it for that because it's only 6 episodes this time, but it's like the length of 8 total.
Yeah, how long are each episode? Do we know? Is it like
the
an hour?
The first 2 is an
15?
hour long
They're
each.
going to be
and
over an hour.
The first 2 are an hour each, and then the final 4 episodes are an hour and a half each, or an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, so the first 2 episodes aren't even longer than an hour.
That's what I've read. I
okay.
could be wrong.
All right, Plat's out.
But then, yeah, I'm mad. I'm heated. I'm way heated. I thought it was going to be like an hour 15.
Triggered.
And then, okay, but the other ones, the last 4 are an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because even a lot of
Because that's like the final battle or whatever.
Even a lot of the episodes from last season were over an hour. You know, I was going back to look at some of them, and it was like 90 minutes, 78 minutes, and I was like, holy crap, I ain't got time to watch this.
Right? Like, it's funny to me because this, like, oh, in order to make the episodes longer, we need to split it in half. I'm like, bitch, please. Like, there's episodes in the previous seasons that are like an hour 15 or an hour 30 if the story needed it to be. Like, you're HBO. You can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. Like, don't tell me, oh, now we need more money. I'm like, please. But, yeah. So
I think a lot of it also comes down to popularity. Like, for the first season or 2, first movie or 2, stuff like that, like, you don't know how popular it is. Your budget is restricted. And then as the series goes on, the budget goes up and stuff like that. So then you can afford to extend something out, make it into 2 movies, make it into 2 seasons, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
And I'm sure filming 13 episodes in a row has got to be a long, long task. And now that it's so popular, you know, you see a series like this and other series where you start watching it and you have no idea who any of these people are. And then, you know, second season comes along, third season comes along, then all of a sudden you're seeing them in different movies and TV shows, and, you know, they're booking other gigs and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it has to do with their schedules, too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem that Sherlock had with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman.
Yeah.
Their popularity went up drastically after those series.
And they only filmed like 3 episodes.
True, but they're 3
crazy.
movies.
Yeah.
Each one's a movie. So.
But it's like crazy that they were dealing with scheduling and they, you know, it's only 3 episodes, but you're right. It was like, some of those were like 2 hours. Okay, that's interesting. I feel like they hide behind this, oh, it's for the fans. And I'm like,
I mean, it is for the fans, because the fans give them money.
Wait longer. Yeah, exactly. You want our money.
I mean, the amount of things I'll do for fans if those fans are paying me.
Well, I mean, you made a Patreon all about it.
My boundaries go, my standards go lower and lower the more the fans appreciate.
If you give Wolves $50, he will send you a topless photo. This is
the
fact.
more you appreciate me, the more I do.
And then if you do 100, he'll actually split it in 2, so that way it lasts longer. It's just the production value. We can do more if you give him more money. It's for you. It's for you. That way you get a bigger photo. You just have to masking tape it together. Like, essentially, that's what they're telling me, and I'm, like, really upset with it. I'm like, can you... Like, Game of Thrones kind of gets a pass because I feel like they really didn't split the final season in half, it really does feel like they just, I don't know, but they shortened the previous season, which really.
But I mean, at the
off.
same time, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a matter of production time. It's a matter of actor schedules, like Toddy said. But again, at the moment, there is no source material. They're not breaking it up. They're just
Right.
finishing it. Like,
Well,
would,
they,
you,
they're
and
creating.
would you rather them cut it short, or would you rather them take a little more time and add in a few more elements to give a better conclusion? Like for example, The Hobbit, that was split into 3 movies, and that in no way in
that
hell
was
should
so stupid.
That was just trying to.
The
that
book
was
is this big. Harry
Yeah,
Potter
that was-
in 5 is this big, and it got in 1 movie.
Like, that was very much just trying to exploit for money. Where in
Right.
this situation, I feel like they're trying to extend to give a proper conclusion.
My biggest issue with it is because they shortened last season. So therefore, they really did like take the last season essentially and split it up and like try it, but made it longer as well. It's like, why don't you just do a full season and then make this one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
why don't
Like,
you make season 8 or whatever we're on and then season 9? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, when I found out like the second last season was gonna be short as well, I was like, why? Like, why not? I can understand a shorter last season. That's what most shows do. But like a second last season shorter than the rest, that doesn't make sense.
especially, yeah. Go ahead.
I would bank on what Toddy said. It's probably just actor conflicting schedules and stuff like that.
I don't think
Like,
so.
that'd be my guess.
Whatever.
This is
Certain
their
productions can
number
take longer.
1 thing that made them popular. Like,
Yes,
if they
but
don't have
also want to
time for
make
Game
sure
of
when
Thrones,
this.
they can get
but they-
recast.
They got to do other stuff enough so when this ends, people are like, "Oh, you also did these things, so
Right.
you know you can do more." Like the guy who played Jon Snow. What if his only other thing was that Pompeii movie?
Right. Well, what is
Like,
his other
there-
thing?
I don't know. I know he's done other stuff, but that's the only one that comes to mind.
Exactly. Make time for Game of Thrones, because literally you have nothing else.
But like Macy
Well,
Williams, she's
Amelia's
done
been in a couple of movies since Game of Thrones.
Macy Williams
Like,
has, yeah.
she's been in a couple movies. She's in a couple episodes of Doctor Who. Like, she's doing other things to herself. Same with the girl who does Sansa. Like, she's Phoenix.
Yeah, X-Men.
Like, they are doing these other things to get themselves out there, and like you kind of have to. Like, you have to diverge yourself. Otherwise, again, all I could think about for Jon Snow is he did that shitty Pompeii movie, and like,
That shitty Pompeii movie. The song was better, god damn it. Oh
So,
my goodness.
so I can understand that to some extent.
Yeah.
But have you seen any of like the before they do any editing when they're filming, like the dragons and stuff like that?
No,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's ridiculous.
And it's just like Peter Dinklage like looking up and talking to someone, and it's just a guy in all green with
Yeah.
his fake like dragon head like flapping wings staring at Peter Dinklage in the face, and like he has to like act like this is the dragon. This is just some goofball.
That's when you realize they're amazing actors.
Yeah,
because
right.
you have to have that like theater of the mind. It's like D&D in real life.
Probably so
Yeah.
many cuts of them just cracking up though.
Yeah.
But, like, and that was the problem that the guy who played Gandalf
Yep.
had in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Was they did so much green screening, he like nearly had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
He's
I
like,
remember
can't
that.
Yeah.
Cause he literally was yelling at everybody and was like, "This isn't why I went into acting so I could pretend like literally everything." He's like, "I went
Yeah.
into acting so that way I could act with other people, not a
Yeah.
screen." And
Because
I was like,
Lord of the Rings, they did that. It was all
Right.
camera tricks, it was angles. They were like people. Like,
right. It was a lot more practical effects.
yeah.
There's a really good video essay about The Hobbit of like why it went so bad that I do recommend to everybody. I will find the link for y'all. It was really interesting.
I remember being in the theater watching The Hobbit, and I actually had no clue that it was supposed to be a trilogy, and I had never read the
And
book
you're like,
either.
what's going on?
The movie ended, and I was like, "There's gonna be another one?" And then when I watched the second one, I was like, "That's not it. There's another one. What?" Like I didn't know there was gonna be 3. I thought it was like gonna be 1 and
I
then
was
just
done
2.
after 1. I was
The-
so mad.
The Hobbit is one of my favorite books of all time. It's easily in the top 5. And I still haven't actually even finished the movies.
It's so difficult to get through.
It's so bad. They just add characters that never existed. They add plot elements that never existed. Like The
But
Hobbit
we
is
need
a very
female
much more,
characters, wolves.
The Hobbit is a much more lighthearted book than Lord of the Rings, but like it's still just like the movie just is so weird.
Yeah. I agree. It was so bad. So awful.
My favorite characters were the dwarves.
Yeah.
I hated the dwarves.
They're super annoying, but I love them.
Yeah. It was funny because they were like, oh, this one is so much more of a child's, it's a children's book, therefore it's a lot more fun or whatever, which I was not prepared for going into, and I think that had a lot to do with it. Because if I knew it was going to be not the same tone as Wolverine, as Lord of the Rings, then it would have been
not the
fine.
same tone as Wolverine.
I know. It's not the same tone as Logan at all. Then, you would have been, like, prepared for it. But that was part of the problem, too, is because they had all these Lord of the Ring elements in there where they were like, oh, this is the precursor to the war that happens in Lord of the Rings. Therefore, it is kind of the same tone. But we also have all this goofy child stuff. I was like...
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it child. I'd say it's more like young adult, but...
That little scene in the kitchen with the dishes and stuff in the first one? Not young adult.
Well, I mean, like, the book is more young adult.
Oh, really? I've heard that it's a children's book.
No, I would not call it a children's book, personally.
Like, I read it in my children's lit class in college. Yeah, it was interesting. Which is funny because it's actually, I would agree with you because it is like dry and it's not necessarily like something's happening all the time. You know, it reads like how Lord of the Rings does, where it's like a history. But yeah, I'll have to find the link for. There's like a conspiracy theory on like why this movie didn't do well. And it's really interesting. I loved it so much.
Oh, wow. A whole conspiracy theory based around
that. Oh, yeah. Because it was like, because it was supposed to be directed by Guillermo del Toro. And like his vision for The Hobbit like made a whole lot more sense. And yet, like, last minute, he, like, got pulled off, and Peter Jackson got pulled in, even though he said he would never do another Lord of the Rings project ever. And it's like, oh, snaps.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I'll have
to
find
on average, it looks like they put Scholastic rates it about between a 6th to 7th grade reading level, so about 11 to 12-ish years old.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that weird, though? Because I would agree with you. Like, the way it reads and the like what it's kind of about, like I don't think of it as a child's book, although it is really old, so maybe children were a lot more mature back in the day. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I read it in like 9th grade or 8th to 9th grade.
Yeah, I don't know. So reining back to Game of Thrones. Since this is the last season, and I'm just gonna call it the last season in completion. Let's
until they have their spin-off seasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's talk about our favorite moments of the series, since we all have watched it. I mean, Will hasn't watched all of it, but you've watched most of it, and we all really like it. So, what is your favorite moments from the show? Who like? We'll start with moments before we go on. So.
Like singular moments. One of my favorite just singular moments was it takes place after Peter Dinklage's character
Tyrion
Lannister, thank you. Right after Tyrion like kills his father and like he's kind of on the run, and like the coach he's in like gets like robbed, like stuff like that. But like he comes stumbling out in the morning drunk. There's like people around, and he just starts taking a piss. And like they comment on it and like, look, he pissed like a man. He's like, you should see me shit. And like there's like people with swords, and he's just like hung up, and it's just like quick little like that's one of my favorite just moments. It's just like little scene of him just not caring and just like, you should see me shit. Like,
yeah.
Like singular moment, that's probably my favorite.
That's a good one.
I think I've told Wolves about this, but since my buddy had read the books, he knew what was going to happen, and he kind of strung me along. It was when Oberyn first got introduced.
Okay.
And then he wouldn't stop talking about his character and how great he was casted and everything else.
Oh, golly.
And so I started watching it, and I was like, man, this guy is pretty cool and everything. And then, 20 minutes later, he's just gone, and it's like, what the hell? I hate you so much.
Oh,
It's like you purposely made me invest myself into this character knowing that he was only going to be in 2 episodes.
Yeah, I had a
I was like, I hate
somewhat
you. I don't ever
similar
want to talk to
story.
you again.
Because my brother was like, he hadn't read the books or anything, but he had a lot of friends who read the books. And so he was really excited for Oberyn. He was like, he's the Viper.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, because that's not super explained in the show. And so I was just like, okay, he's like, so who do you think is going to win? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, He's like, they don't go into it, but in the books, he's a really good fighter and he beats lots of people. So he's like, I think he's going to do it. And I was like, man, I hope so. Cause this is a predicament for Tyrion. I mean, you think he's got to win. He's got to. Mm-hmm. And then and the whole thing happens. And my brother literally was like, I'm done with the show. I'm so mad. I'm done
That was
watching.
the point he was done with the show.
Yeah, he was like, I'm so mad right now. I'm done. I'm so mad. It was really funny. I was laughing.
I don't understand how you could get that far into the series and then still get mad. It's like the series has done it several times at this point.
Well, that's what I was going to say
look
too.
At this cool up, they're dead.
Yeah, the Red Wedding is when every single movie or TV show after the Red Wedding, it doesn't faze me anymore. I am a dead inside human being. Anytime a character dies in anything, I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right. That's to be
doesn't
expected.
compare to the Red Wedding. This is fine.
Well, to go along with Wolf said, Tyrion has always been one of my favorite characters of the show. So when that whole thing was going down, I was like, man, I can see them doing it just because of, previous seasons. And up to that point, besides Joffrey, nobody else had, there was no main characters that had gone down that season. And I was like, man, I can see them doing it. It's one of the last episodes of the season. Something big is going to happen. And I was like, I'm going to be so mad if they kill him off.
Yeah, I remember being so nervous for him because I was just like, oh my God, he's going to die.
Yeah,
he's going to die.
Even in the books, Tyrion and Arya are my 2 favorite characters. In the books, Arya is still at the point where she's training with the Faceless.
Yeah.
So in the books, you're just like, oh, come on, girl, be an assassin and murder everyone. Just
murder everyone.
All of them.
Yeah.
Every
Look
single
at
one
what the
of
show
them.
does
You
to
can do
us.
it, girl.
We're like, yeah, I don't care if people die. I'm like, whatever, it happens. And then we're like, murder everybody.
But keep in mind
so
though,
bad.
the show takes place over years because they need to explain how the actors are aging. The books take place so far over a year.
Yeah, it's a lot shorter.
Arya's still a 12-year-old little assassin. She's
yeah.
So that's the other thing. The books, the characters are all much younger because they're not aging. Because
And they also start younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm glad that they have them older for all the shit that they go through. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to see.
Yeah, because
I don't want to see a 10-year-old go through this.
Because the brother who loses the arm, in the show, they're like, oh yeah, he was held captive for 2 years or something like that, and in the books he was held captive for 3 months.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah. Too funny. So let's see. So we have Wolf's favorite moment, Toddy's favorite moment, even though it was really sad. Deandra, do you have a favorite moment?
I'm a really big fan of Daenerys Targaryen. So pretty much any time she did anything badass, which is all the time. So
yeah, that moment when she finally gets her army, has the ships, and is totally bamboozled the leader, and is you really, and her dragons are mid-grown. And they're
That's a
like
good
all
moment.
that whole like shot there. Oh, that was so
Just
good.
like she finally has everybody.
Yeah, and she literally drops the mic with the whip. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, I'm out. All
I'm
she needed
out.
was the glasses to come down.
There's a gif out there somewhere where
She's
that
like, deal with
happens.
it. And it's like, all right, I will. Yeah, no, that was a really, really good one. I really enjoyed that.
Have you guys ever seen the Graham Norton show? The British, like, kind of like talk show?
Mm-mm.
I know
think
who he is.
so.
I've never watched it though.
So
I've
yeah,
seen
Graham
a
Norton. I
couple
mean, he gets celebrities on the couch and they talk and they
Okay,
just chat and BS and they tell all these funny stories. But there's an episode and you can find a clip online with Amelia Clarke, who plays Daenerys the Queen of Dragons, and Matt LeBlanc, who played Joey from Friends.
Uh-huh.
And they're on it and stuff like that.
I've seen
And at
that
one point, like, I think Graham Norton brings it up that like, or she just kind of out of the blue asked, but she asked Matt LeBlanc to say how you do, like how you doing
How
to
you
her,
doing?
and like she completely fangirl. She's like, she's been like this is several
That's so
seasons into
cute.
Game of Thrones, and she's like, can you ask
you
me how
do
I'm
that?
doing? So he like adjusts himself a little bit. He's like, how you doing? He's like.
That's so
awesome.
cute. Oh my
It's-
gosh. That's adorable.
Yeah,
I
she's
think
a
one of my
huge fan
favorite
of
moments
Friends.
for her was right after Khal Drogo died, and she burns down the little hut,
Yeah.
and then she has like that, that Phoenix resurrection where she just comes out from the ashes, and she's got the 3 baby dragons with her all of a sudden, and everyone's just staring at her, and they're like, "Oh man, what did we do?"
Yeah.
Mad respect, bro.
That was a good one. Oh my god.
I love when
Probably
she
should have
finally
been
gets
nicer
her-
to her.
I love when she finally gets her army of slaves, and she's like, "So this means I control all of these slaves right there.
Yeah.
There's thousands of them right there, right over there,
Yeah.
in the middle of your city. I control them. Yeah. All right, kill them all."
Yep. So good.
Talk about backfiring.
Yeah.
like, don't insult someone nonstop and then give them a massive army 5 feet away from you.
Well, to be fair, he didn't know that she knew that he was insulting her.
Yeah.
True.
That was also really cool.
Yeah.
That
She's
reveal.
like, I know what you're saying.
She's like, oh, by the way, that's my mother's tongue. So, even though I never knew my mother, I do know her mother's tongue.
It's a fantasy world. Maybe you learn languages through your DNA.
you just come out with knowing every language of your parents. I'm trying to think of. I think one of my favorite moments, or maybe relationship, is Arya and the Hound.
Mm-hmm.
Is like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love like when she's, she says to the Hound like she's like, one day I'm gonna like burn your face essentially or whatever. Like she like threatens him, and I was like, I can't believe she just did that. And then I love it because she's like really, really cute because she's a bit younger, and she like kind of like turns on a dime and just walks the other way. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're adorable. Like you can tell on her face that she like said it and went, I think that was the wrong thing to say, but I've already said it, so I'm gonna stay tall and just turn. It's like so good.
Their relationship reminds me of like the classic, like the disgruntled father who doesn't want a pet, and then they're like besties. Like he's just dealing with her. He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
It's just like I kind of have to. And then he's
Strictly
like,
business.
yeah. Then later he's like, I'll teach you how to kill. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I really,
Yeah, it was like
really
after the
enjoyed their
Red Wedding
relationship.
when he realized that she had nothing. He was like, "All right, let's go. We're gonna do this now."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he must have seen like a lot of similarities between them with him being an outsider in his own family, and
Yeah.
to see her family go down like that. And it's so dishonorable, and he's honorable, to be honest. Like, even though he does like these bad things, he has like a moral compass. So to see her family go down,
he has
so
a code of
dishonorable,
ethics.
Yeah. I think he was like, okay, this isn't good. Let's get out. So what's we kind of dabbled on who your favorite characters are, but to clarify, what is your favorite character of the show? And they can be dead or alive or whatever.
I mean, as of the books, Arya and Tyrion, they're the two most interesting.
Yeah.
Tyrion's always been my favorite.
Tyrion's a good one.
Yeah.
Just all the
Tyrion's really
quips
good.
between him and Varys, they were just hilarious.
Oh,
I
Just
love
those
the
two running around the world together, they were so funny.
good.
I love the meme of if this man doesn't get a castle in the last episode, he's gonna sit on the Iron Throne. He'll be the king.
I love like all of the Starks as a whole. Like they're just such a nice, wholesome
That's a
family.
cop out. You can't say
no,
the whole
like,
family.
I was saying that as like I love the Starks, but
Yeah.
still Daenerys my favorite for like one singular character.
Yeah. I would say my favorite character is Arya. I love Arya.
I really like that assassin too, or the mercenary that was traveling
the
with
faceless
Tyrion.
guy.
No, he's the one
The-
that helped Tyrion, and then he was following Tyrion forever until
Bronn.
Tyrion's father offered him
Oh,
like a
yeah,
castle
Bronn.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, Bronn.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the meme of him getting the castle.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely. He's a good
he doesn't
one.
get a castle by the end of this show.
Hopefully, who knows?
Like I said, he'll sit on the Iron Throne.
Isn't there like a theory behind that that character, where like
Oh dear.
he's like that one family in like the Lannister song that they sing about, that they left like one child living, and then like that he's
Oh,
the
the Reigns of
child.
Castamere?
I think maybe. It's been a long time since I read
I
that
thought
theory.
they
but I'm
wiped
like,
him out though. I didn't think there'd be one left.
I don't know. There's like it's like a book thing, but I've never read the books.
Right.
Something about like they left one child alive, and like there's a theory that he's the one child, and he's just helping the Lannisters out to like kind of get back at them eventually. I don't know. I want that to be true.
Interesting. I'm trying to think if I would like that or not. Like, I don't know.
There's just so many theories. It's crazy what
I
people
know.
can think of.
It honestly puts me back when like Harry Potter was in his heyday and like the last book hadn't come out and everybody was thinking about how it was going to end and like all these different theories and da 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 da. I like loved all of that. It was so much fun to just be like, I don't know, what do you think's going to happen? They're like, everyone's like, well, of course, you know, Harry's going to be fine, but we're like,
I don't
yeah,
wanna
but
go into it
how?
too much. I don't want to go into it too much because Wolves hasn't seen it yet, but there's also a theory going around that there's a character that is dead that they're saying might not be
Oh.
because
That's what I've heard.
because of
before.
Well, I
his
mean,
family heritage.
That always happens in the show.
Yeah.
Several people die and then don't for various reasons.
If you don't see a dead body, they could come back.
like
Mhm.
where
That's
I left off.
immediate.
Oh no, you see the dead body.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
it's not even just seeing the dead body. So I don't remember how the TV show handles it, but in the book, when Mama Stark
Yeah,
dies at the Red Wedding,
right.
like
Yeah.
she's killed and like it just floats down the river, dead body. But a cave of like mercenaries, one of the guys who had died, but like has this like magic flame of life in him, gives
Right.
up his to bring hers back to life.
Right.
So she is long dead, bloated, ugly body in the river.
Right.
And like he gives his life to her and she gets up. So being actually dead doesn't stop it. Like various
Yeah.
people have literally died, been dead for a period of time.
And then come back
Because like, yeah,
in the book.
it's like, yeah,
Because that hasn't happened.
No, it's probably not going to.
I don't know if they're going to either. I have heard that, and that they're like, oh, that's going to probably happen, and everyone was like really excited about it. But I don't know if it like, I don't know.
you know, in the books there's like a good good chapter or two, following that group
Yeah.
of people in the cave, finding her body, and the guy being like, well, I'm gonna do this because like, bring her alive. Like she's more
Right.
important than I am, and like.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, you know, it's so funny because I like my first question was like, but would that fit within, you know, the TV Game of Thrones, even though we've done all this other magic shit? But I'm like, does that, you know, fit with everything else, or is it, you know, would they be willing to do it or would they not be willing to do it? So I'm like, I was just trying to think of that. I don't know.
With her, I think it might be too far gone by now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have done that already if they were planning on it.
And this is my point about how, like, I feel like the books are still going to be different enough from the TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, there are characters who are alive and not in the different ones, so, like, interactions and stuff like that are going to be different. Like,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. Before the show, we were talking about, or before the podcast started, we were talking about how we were discussing on whether or not the author would be influenced by the ending of the show, because obviously the books aren't out, and bets are that the show's going to end before the book comes out. So, will the author be influenced by the show and the reaction of said ending of the show? And that he just writes it differently, even though originally he was going to have it one way.
I mean, in the long run, I feel like the answer is obviously he will, because you can't not be influenced by things.
Sure.
Like, you just can't, whether or not you realize it or not. And, like, so to some extent he will be. And there might be little things like, ooh, they did that well, I'll incorporate that. Or, I don't like that, I'm going to do it this way. Or, that's not how I was going to do it, I'm going to keep, like, he's going to be influenced. I just, to what extent, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like essentially the biggest question is who's going to end up on the Iron Throne? Like, who will win the throne?
If there is an Iron Throne.
Which is my theory, is that there won't be. But
no, yeah, me too.
But, like, that's the biggest question, is, like, who's going to end up on the Iron Throne? And so my question, and we'll never know the answer, unfortunately, is, like, his original plan of, like, this person's on the throne, and that's what they did in the show, and then everyone's like, that's stupid, and then he goes, never mind, this person's gonna be on the throne. That's my question, is, will he be influenced that much, or will he be like, screw it, it didn't work in the show because everything was so different, but it works in my books, so they'll still be on the throne at the end,
Yeah, he probably has like some points like written down, like a rough draft of like what he wants his books to end, or how he wants his books to end, and then like now the show's out, he'll probably like be influenced by that, but like still keep some of his original stuff he had. But we just don't know what will be original, what will be influenced, and that that bugs me. But
yeah, agreed.
I'm like, man, I wish the books just had already come out, and then they're like completely two separate stories, but they're they're not. They're very much influencing each other,
and it's hard to know how much he actually has planned, because we're on book 6 of his trilogy, because his goal is to write a trilogy.
We're on book 6 of his trilogy.
So, like, clearly he's already also done things he wasn't anticipating, or like, like, so who knows what he could have planned, and what he keeps changing and rechanging as he writes.
Yeah. Well, again, his best story elements are between the bullet points of storytelling. And so that's where you get all this other stuff, because it's like, we're going here, and then it's like, just kidding, we got kidnapped. And so and that's the best parts of the story. And that's what I think elongates the book so often. And then it doesn't help that you have so many flipping characters, so you need 2 books to have the one book.
I think he did something that has come to be much more often now, at the time, which was really well done. And it actually harkens back to, like, the first Willy Wonka movie. I forget which one it is. Is it Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? I forget which one's the first
Willy Wonka is the first one, because it was about Charlie.
Okay, so the whole idea of when Gene Wilder, like, comes walking out, he, like, trips, rolls, and stuff like that. And, like, that was his idea, because he wanted to establish right from the beginning, you can't trust this character.
Right.
And I feel like Martin did a similar thing in the first book, of where, like, you spend a lot of time with Neddard. You spend a lot of time really getting to like Neddard and the Stark family and everything like that, and then he kills him.
Right.
So he spends all this time building up this character, and then kills him, and he sets, right then and there, he sets the tone after the first book, like, you can no longer get attached to anyone.
Anybody, yeah.
And, like, so at any moment, you're like, this character seems like they're dead. Who's the main? Like, it happens all the time, and, like, he did a very good job at establishing that in the very first book.
Yes.
Like, it took a while, he built it up, and then from there, like, at any given moment, the pace could change, someone could die, like...
Yeah. And I love how they incorporated that into the show. They essentially did the TV version of that in writing. Because, like, in writing, of course, the way to get attached to someone is completely follow this character. You get super attached. He's the best character. He's got a moral compass. He's a great father, you know, this whole thing, except, the whole bastard child, but whatever. And then, like, so, like, that's the book version. In the TV version, you cast him as, like, a great actor, a notable actor, versus everybody else who is a flippin' nobody at the time. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh, this is the person I know. I'll watch this show. I liked him in Lord of the Rings. And then it's like, oh, just kidding. We're killing off literally the only person who has any, like, star ability.
I feel like we should have seen it coming, considering he dies in almost every movie he's ever in.
A lot of actors die in their movies.
No, he has the highest ratio.
I know, but, like,
he's literally died in almost everything he's been in.
Yeah, like, a lot of characters die, but in terms of, like, he's in the top 3 of, like, movies to death.
Yeah.
Like, he is known for being casted for someone who dies. So that's what made it extra brilliant, because, like you said, he's the only notable actor. You're like, oh, he'll die eventually.
Right.
Eventually.
Yeah.
But, like, you joke,
like,
and you're like,
bruv.
yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, they got me.
Yeah.
I remember watching that, season 1, episode 9, and it was like the show I watched, like, while I was eating dinner, and I was, like, watching it on my own, and, like, when that happened, that was the moment I realized how attached to this goddamn show I was. I had no idea until that point. I was like, I literally had to pause, and I was like, what happened?
I mean,
because up until that point, you're like, someone's gonna come in and save him. It's gonna be fine. His daughter's watching, both of them.
They're not gonna decapitate him in front of his like 8-year-old daughter. That's ridiculous.
What? And I was like, I'm mortified.
I mean, that's as the book reader group. Like, those are one of the 3 moments we're just watching all the newbies. Like, there's that, the Red Wedding, and then for me it was also when the one guy gets his eyes.
Yeah, the Viper.
I watched the Red Wedding in a room full of book readers, and I've never been so embarrassed in my entire life. I literally had to sit in the chair with my head down for like half an hour because I'm like, I can't look at all of you. I can't do it.
Oh my gosh.
That's
so
like
mad.
My wife and I used to watch. I stayed up to watch it. My wife could never stay up, and so I watched that episode when it aired. And I came home from work the next day, and she had started watching it. She's like, "You want to watch this with me?" I was like, "Nope, see ya."
I'm out.
She's like, "Nah, bruv, I'm out. No, we're good."
See you later.
That's so funny.
Like, no, I'm not watching this again.
I also watched it with book people. But we watched it with someone who like never watched Game of Thrones as well. So we had like a really odd group. And so in order to prepare him, this newbie, to like where we are in the show, and if I remember correctly, this wasn't even the 9th episode, or was it the 9th episode? So we knew something was going to go down. Yeah.
The 3rd season?
Or whatever.
Well, yeah.
But like because it's always like the 9th episode that you're like, something's going to go down. And so
it's usually the show before the season finale, because they usually do a show after.
Right.
Well,
there's usually 10 episodes, so 9.
That I also feel like they get from Martin, because Martin does that. Like, Jon Snow doesn't get stabbed at the end of the book. He gets stabbed like several chapters from it.
Right.
At the end. So it's not like the final moment. You're like,
yeah, there's almost like
on?
a really good epilogue at the end. I really like that, actually.
Yeah.
Because you get a little bit of like how this is affecting people, but then also like it's not done, and so you are still on a cliffhanger. You don't need to end it literally on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, so he but it's just like he's stabbed like I see in the chapter, you go to the next chapter, suddenly you're just following someone else somewhere else.
Yeah.
No, fucking go back. What are you doing?
I
need to know.
Yeah, so I feel like the shows do that too. They like the second to last episode, they have that big thing, and then they like.
But yeah, so there's this like complete newbie to the show, and so we were like getting him up to date, and we were just going through all the characters, and like so I got to Rob, and I was like, so Rob, he's just kind of like there, to be honest. Like I was like, he's doing this war, and that's kind of like all you need to know about it. And then my book reader friend was like, well, there's more that you need to know, and I was just like. All right, he's dead. Like, Okay,
Oh,
he's
no.
dying. Yeah, I was like, I called it like immediately. Cause it was like immediately when he was like, no, there's more you need to know. I was just like,
What are you not
okay,
telling me?
he's dying. And then like, so the whole episode, I'm just like waiting, and especially because like a lot of it is at the Red Wedding, and I was just like, this guy is going out.
Oh.
So it was a surprise with the other ones, but like that like really undercutted the whole surprise of the Red Wedding. I was so mad. I was like, I am never watching this show with this friend ever again. I was so mad.
I love all the foreshadowing they put into the show that you don't see until now. A lot of people are talking about and everything else. Because it's like the very first episode or something when they find the dire wolves. There's one for each kid.
Yep.
And then there was one that was dead that was gutted by a boar.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was the parent.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, Ned
Yeah.
Stark was the wolf, and he was killed by a Baratheon whose sigil is the boar.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it was a deer. Which
But
is
the king was killed
Deer.
by a boar.
which is yeah, I think it was a deer. But
Yeah, 'cause
you're
they
right.
got the
Though.
antlers.
There was
Yes.
like a ton of
Same thing,
of symbolism, which was like really flipping cool.
Mhm.
That's another thing that I don't know if the shows ever fix it, but the shows really gloss over how important these dire wolves are.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
If you remember their
John's-
names.
Like, but like Jon Snow can like literally go into the mind of his dog,
Right, so they don't do that in the show.
and like all of the Starks eventually get like these empathic like
They're
tied
like,
with these animals, and like
yeah.
they're like familiars, and they like Jon Snow every night dreams through Shadow's like mind and sees that, and like they all like
The
I think
only
they're
one
all
they do
dead
that
now.
with is Bran, but
Yeah.
that's for different reasons. Like he has a very like relationship with his dog, which sounds weird.
yeah,
but-
and in the books they hint that is it Sansa's that she boots her direwolf to the wild?
no, it's
No, it's
Arya's
Arya.
Nymeria.
Yeah, so Arya is like the books hint every now and then there's like this army of like wolves that are like terrorizing the countryside that's being led by hers.
Yeah.
Like hers starts like an army and like
Yeah.
just starts like fucking shit up.
Oh, I love it.
Well,
'Cause
there was one episode she runs into her again, doesn't she?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really anticlimactic.
But that's what I mean. Like the books, the direwolves are much more important. Like they're
Yeah.
they're characters.
Yeah,
Like,
I would
they
say the
serve
only
an
one
act-
who's a character is Ghost in like the TV show.
Yeah.
The rest of them they kind of got killed.
Well,
but,
two of them are dead.
Yeah.
Sansa's and Rob's are dead.
Right.
Well, yeah, that happens in the books as well. Some of them die, but the ones that are alive, they're like any other character. They might die, but they're a character. They are
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
They serve a purpose at the time.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say they're like as important as in the books, but I was really attached to them like in the show because I was waiting for them because we kept, just like the dragons, it's like they're going to grow up and they're going to be like this fierce like you said, like familiar, with them. And so I was like, every time I'm like waiting and then like they kept getting killed off and I'm like, God damn it, like
Yeah.
Jesus, this is terrible. But yeah, but I would say like Ghost is like the biggest like character, and I like
Yeah.
care about him. I'm like, just survive this season.
Yeah, puppy.
Little puppers. But yeah, wow, guys, we've been talking about Game of Thrones for an hour. That
We talked about
happened.
Kingdom Hearts for a little bit.
We glossed over it about how stupid it is. It's been over 10 years for a wait.
All right, so on to Marvel. That should be a quick conversation.
Marvel will have to wait for another time. I think we'll talk about, I think by the time our next episode comes out, which is April 28th, it'll already be out. So
Yeah, but I will not have seen that. I can guarantee I'm not seeing it open weekend. That would just be a nightmare.
why? You gotta go! We gotta
They're
talk about
already
it!
sold out.
That's why you get tickets before they're sold out. And you get it at a theater with reserved seating with comfy couches.
We only have one of those around us now, but they have the really nice reclining seats.
Yep. That's
Like, it's
honestly like the
insane.
standard here now. Like it's hard to find a theater without those seating.
Like most of them have like nice ones that are almost like this, like they rock back a little bit. But no, this has like the button. It goes to full recline lay down mode.
Those are just our theaters now. Probably because
Yeah.
we're in California or
We
whatever.
don't have
Hollywood is
those.
like. Yeah, like it's hard to find like regular theaters now. It's crazy. And it's really nice. Highly recommended for all those cities who don't have them.
I just kind of hate that because I was always the person that would go like a half hour, buy my ticket, get my seat, sit there, like chill, talk with someone. Now I gotta like 3 days in advance. I gotta know I want to see a movie on a day at a time.
3
Like,
days? You can get it same day.
our theaters have like 50 seats,
Oh, okay.
like because they lost a lot of seating for that.
But
Because
like
they weren't built with that in mind. They were
Right.
modified and added in.
yeah,
So
I'm trying
for
to think
every,
of a
like-
movie where like at 5 o'clock you gotta get it. The ticket's 3 days in advance, no matter how many seats are in there.
When I went and saw Captain Marvel last weekend,
That's a
Like-
Marvel film.
we're talking about a Marvel film.
I know, but that doesn't count for the 3 days in advance.
But this is several weeks after release.
Yeah, I know it's a Marvel film. Of course, there's.
But
gonna be
like,
people
that's my point. Like, I gotta know in advance.
there.
I don't like that. I
Uh,
like to wing it. Like, you want to go to the 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Well, we got some stuff to do. We'll see, and then go. All right, we'll go to the 3. Like, I'd like to be able
Yeah.
to do that. And I can't.
Yeah, definitely. I really like them. I love having the assigned seating, honestly. Like, it's just so flippin' nice to be like, I don't have to go there a half hour early just to look at previews that I'm not going to watch anyway because I don't watch trailers. So then I'm like this the whole time.
See, depending on the movie, I still enjoy trailers. Like, I hate spoilers, but I will still usually accept trailers.
Yeah.
But usually I won't look at, like, because the company released, like, 5. I'll watch,
Right.
like, the first one and be like, all right, I'm convinced.
My favorite is the teasers where they're like 30 seconds and they just show someone's face. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
me
need
too.
to see anything else.
Don't show me anything
Characters
else.
have faces. I'm on board.
Yeah,
I'm
like
pro
the
face.
tone of the movie is there, and I can already see what type of movie it is, the genre, what it's gonna be. Like, I got it. I'm done.
I'm
in.
sold.
Or I'm like,
What?
that's stupid. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, they just did the teaser trailer for the next Star Wars.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah.
Also, the Captain Marvel movie had like 20 trailers.
Yeah. Trailers are
crazy.
30 minutes before the movie. Last we checked. When we went to Captain Marvel, the trailers were 30 minutes.
That's crazy.
And so half of them I was like this. And the other half I didn't care, so I just watched. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, this concludes our 14th episode, our Fortnite episode of the Valhalla's Most Wanted. Valhalla's Most Wanted podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys loved reminiscing in the Game of Thrones. We talked about some of our favorite moments, some of our favorite characters. Really quickly, who do you think is going to be on the throne in the end? Who's going to win?
Daenerys.
Arya or Bronn? Or Bran, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Not Bran. This
Bronn.
mercenary.
Yeah.
Bronn. Arya or Bronn on it.
Okay.
Like, I love Tyrion, but I want one of those two.
Tyrion would be so good, in which he's not going to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
He
I don't know
fits
if
too
Arya
well.
wants to be on the throne, but it'd be cool if she was.
I mean, everyone else is dead. Like, the
Arya
entire
would
world
be a
is dead,
terrible
so she's
choice.
just...
She would just go out for vengeance and continue
Yeah.
war.
I'm fine with that.
Toddy, who do you think will win?
I really want Tyrion to win. I think
he's
it's too simple for it to be Jon or Daenerys because they've been pushing that for so long now.
Well, he is the Song of Ice and Fire, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's another
It
thing I
just
feel like a
seems
lot of
too
people
simple, though.
forget is
Yeah.
the series isn't called Game of Thrones.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's Songs of Ice.
it's
like,
the
that's
Song
the
of
thing.
Ice and Fire, and that's Jon. Main character.
He just wants to protect people. He like his own people and like the world from.
So
the White
maybe Jon will
Walkers.
win in the books. It doesn't mean he has to win in the TV show.
I hope not, because it's too predictable.
Yeah.
I want Lady Mormont. She's winning.
Yes.
Okay.
Lady Mormont is my winner, or Brienne of Tarth would be really good too. I'd be happy with that.
I want her to have a spin-off series.
Her relationship with literally anybody is just so fun to watch. I'm just
I
like,
know.
ooh.
The wildling.
Should be good.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Him like eating the so stupid. So good. Anyway. Alright guys. Thank you so much, Deandra, aka Scattered Fate, and Toddy for being here. Thank you so
AKA
much.
Coddyson13.
There you go. I'm like, it's right there. In case people are wondering why the hell I'm calling Deandra. They're like, that's not her name, it's Scattered Fate. This person's an idiot.
For those who don't know, it used to be, it's Deandra.
It's Deandra.
Changed my username.
Where can people find you? Wolves, why don't you go from here?
I'm Grey Wolves Gaming. You can find me at twitch.tv/Grey Wolves Gaming, but there's underscores between Grey Wolves and then Wolves in Gaming. This font doesn't allow that.
This font is stupid, I apologize. It's true. It doesn't have underscores.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitch at Wolves1226. Or, not Twitch, Twitter. The other
Okay.
T one.
The other T1.
The other team.
Deandra, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/SkatteredFate.
Spelled with a K.
The
Spelled with a
correct
K.
way.
Yeah.
The correct KORECT way.
There you go.
And Toddy, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitch at ToddySon13 and Twitter, ToddySon13.
Perfect. And I'm PlatinumTrophyWife. We will be continuing our Marvel Marathon tomorrow, since tonight is Game of Thrones. We are on Ant-Man at the moment. We are working our way up to Endgame. So if you wanted to be involved with the MCU Marathon, we are watching them chronologically. So go ahead and get in that VMW Discord or my Discord. I post it both places. And until next time, guys, which is 2 weeks from now.
Bye, everyone.
See
Bye.
you later. It's not clicking.